everyone. So yes, as you can see, this is another group video. Continuing the trend of our previous group video. This video is going to be English, based on what we did, well not based on, but linking to what we did last time. So last time we gave an example of the oral presentation. This time I think the video is going to be a bit shorter than that, but we're going to be talking about the kind of thing you can do for paper 1 written assignment.
Because you have 2 hours, and if you sit there and do nothing for those 2 hours, then that's a wasted 2 hours, and you will fail your English class.
I'm not exaggerating when I say that our English teacher literally told us to spend an hour planning. She did.
Yeah, she did.
I feel like that's
a bit long. Maybe 30 minutes.
I feel like 30 minutes of like a solid essay plan would be more than enough time.
If you spend about 30 minutes looking at the text and analyzing it and then comparing it to the other one, and then the rest of the hour and a half just writing everything down, because if you analyze it like really well for the first 30 minutes, then you'll have your solid plan out. Just go paragraph by paragraph.
I would also say, like, if you don't plan, if you're one of those people who thinks, I don't need to plan, I never plan.
Bad idea.
I never plan, and I planned for this, because honestly in the exam, you don't have the, like, ability to just play around with things once it's written, because it's on paper and it's not on the computer, which is what I usually use. You can't,
it's a real
pain to move things around as easily.
It.
You have to cross things out, because you're probably going to be using a pen, because you have to use a pen in the real exam. Getting the essay plan really bumps it up, and I would say actually spending 30 minutes or even spending an hour planning and then writing for an hour, you're probably going to have a better essay than if you just sat down and wrote straight for 2 hours without planning at all.
This is true, although an hour is still pretty long, unless you can write like the Flash, in which case go ahead.
So we're going to just kind of give a brief outline of the kind of structure you can use after you've done your planning, because obviously we can't tell you how to do your planning because we have no idea what you're going to be given as your 2 texts to compare. But we do know that you will be given 2 different text types and you will have to compare them, so that's what we can tell you.
Yay! Find the link where there is none, unless you have like a really obvious link.
There's always a link.
There's always a link.
So first of all, it's an essay, so you do need an introduction. Basically in this introduction, it would be a good idea to introduce the subject and the topic of the 2 texts that you've been, the 2 texts that you've been given. The texts might not always be obviously texts. So for example, we were, in the previous exam that we just did as a practice, we were given a cartoon strip and a memoir. So, I mean, a cartoon's, when you think text, you think that you're going to be given lots of words to analyse, but sometimes you're given pictures, so I would suggest studying pictures as well. Once you have the subject and the topic of your texts kind of described almost, you could probably include a couple of quotations that maybe link to the key point of the text, something like that. After that, you can talk about the audience of the text briefly, and the purpose, because those are the kind of things that you'll be asked to discuss in the actual question. One thing that is really important to mention: throughout the essay, you should be using technical language. Yeah, you should have linking words throughout the thing, words that suggest a comparison, because that's pretty much what you're supposed to be doing the whole time. You should be using technical words like enjambement. Oh god, that word again. Enjambement. Oh no.
Enjambment.
Oh god, that was a voice crack. I'm not even a guy. Why do I have voice cracks?
Because we're grown. Apparently we need to speak
My voice got deeper after my voice got deeper.
My voice got weird.
Anyway, yeah, technical vocabulary, like, just go at it, find a dictionary and memorize it, I don't know.
Moving on into paragraphs 2 and 3, which is technically your official paragraphs 1 and 2 for your body. You'll want to analyze the structure and the form, so that your paragraph 2 will be the structure and form of text 1. And every point you make has to have a meaning behind it. You can't just list it, because the examiner cannot read your mind. Because I can tell you this, the examiner does not care, and they do not care to find out. So you need to literally hold them by the hand and walk them through your essay.
You need to explain why the author or the cartoon artist, I don't know, why they've made these decisions rather than just saying what the decisions are, if you say that a point is suggested by a specific quotation, and then you don't go on to explain in detail how that quotation supports your point, you're not going to get marks for that. You're going to go down in the points bracket, which is not a good thing.
So paragraph 3 is very similar to paragraph 2, except you're going to be analyzing text 2 instead of text 1. Or you can flip it, do text 2, text 1. Personally, it's simpler for me if I do text 1, text 2, because then I can go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Basically, you should just have the same, just talk about the same point for both texts. And honestly, if the point that you're making is actually not that big of a point, but you think that it's valid to be made, you can just put this in one paragraph. What you need to make sure that you're doing, definitely, is having links between the paragraph. So our teacher, to explain this to us, she made us all hold hands and do the Mexican wave, and this one girl in our class went, I don't want to do that, I have sweaty hands. And since then, linking words in our classroom have been known as sweaty hands. You need to have sweaty hands between your paragraphs, but you don't want the sweaty hands to be obvious, so use as sophisticated a vocabulary as you possibly can.
And afterwards, wipe your hands on your jeans.
Another important point to probably cover somewhere in your essay, if it's really not applicable to your text types, then don't do it. But a good idea would be to look at the speakers or the narrative voice within the two texts and look at the attitudes and compare and contrast them. There probably will be some similarities and some differences, so this could be a good point to look at for that. Again, you need to look at the writer's choices. So if it's an autobiography or something like a memoir, you need to think of what kind of memory they're trying to induce and what kind of feeling they're trying to give for you, or whatever reason you think they're using for giving this thing.
One of the example texts that we were shown for the written assignment here, it was a title called Eyepiece, coming from the domesticity of giraffes. And what we had to do...
weird.
It really was, but then you would have to go on to explain that giraffes and domestic... It makes, like, you picture the wilderness or something, or the zoo or something. Like, you would literally have to analyze that. Like, analyze everything.
Basically, make points about various things that are worth making points about, and as long as you analyze them to the absolute death, then you should be okay. Because it's an essay, you need a conclusion.
Oh, definitely.
So, like, 5 minutes, at least 5 minutes before the end of the exam. I don't know
Start thinking
what you're doing if you're, like, waiting 3 minutes before and then writing a conclusion. It's going to be terrible. I think in the conclusion, you should give yourself 5 to 10 minutes. Definitely 5. Like, if you're mid-paragraph and you notice there's only 5 minutes left of your exam, stop that paragraph and go to the conclusion, because one of the things is you need to have a good structure for your essay so that it flows nicely, and if you don't have a conclusion, it's not a proper essay.
It's not. You cut that paragraph off mid-sentence, because if you've written for an hour and a half, you should have enough to build your argument well. Yeah. So cut that last argument off, we'll like summarize it a little bit, like this means da-da-da-da-da, and then go to your conclusion.
Go to the conclusion. Within the conclusion, you should be summarizing the main points that you've been making in your essay. You should conclude the main similarities and the main differences. You don't have to really explain here, you just have to go over the points that you've already said in the rest of your essay. But also you should be trying to offer a little special something that you haven't mentioned yet. I don't know what that could be. But think of a special little something, just like a small idea that continues on from the argument that you've been making and makes the examiner really think like, oh, this student's really given some thought to this idea. Even if you haven't, even if you literally couldn't care less. You want the examiner to think that it's the most important thing to you, which it kind of should be. I mean, it's...
But not like a big idea, like...
Not a whole new point, like not a whole new argument.
No, like a diversive point.
I don't know, like...
A small side point
like
from your main argument. Yeah.
Yeah, like a segue. So, like, if your whole essay has been about something to do with women's rights, because both texts talk about women's rights in various different ways, don't bring up in your conclusion something be like, oh, they also talk about the ethics of killing animals for medicine. Don't mention it.
No, don't do that.
I mean, I don't know what text that would be. but don't do it because it sounds stupid with us saying it, and it will sound stupid and look stupid if it's in your conclusion. Don't make yourself look stupid to the examiner. The examiner just wants to make you look smart, go through and tick off and be like, yeah.
They have this,
They have
this,
they have everything. They'll have like a checklist in their mind, or maybe they're like really organised and they'll have an actual checklist and they'll be going, they have this, they have this, they have this. Okay, great, they can get full marks in that section. And you want to make sure that the examiner feels like you deserve full marks. If you go off on a tangent at the end of your essay, it's not well structured and you're not going to get full marks. It's not how it works.
Unless, you know, you clip a little 10-pound note on the back of it.
Unless you clip that 10-pound note back. So we hope that this video was helpful.
Yeah.
So see you next time. Bye!
Peace.
Is this recording? How is waving at the camera going to make you figure out if it's...
I don't know! Maybe you can classify it as a salt. But then I prefer pepper, so...
For Hita's sake! Okay, I'm good.
I'm sorry, as soon as it goes on, I swear it sprays like laughing gas at me or something.
Oh my god!
Okay, that's...
Link with me.
What do you know? I'm not doing anything!
Link with me, senpai!
No!
Senpai!
We are kohai.
Oh yeah. But senpai...
I should be saying the link.
Human being. I can feel my face getting red. I'm really glad that I'm wearing foundation. I hope I caked it on as heavy as I thought I did.
Look, I can talk like this now.
So can I. Irony.
Irony.
Irony. Iron. E. Me blonde. Iron, you Jane. Me Tarzan. You go through and read all your stuff, so you can at least give them the courtesy of writing a decent essay. Coming from me. Because the whole point of the practice exams is like, you have a brief idea of what you're supposed to be doing, and you do it, and you hand it in, and the teacher goes, this is all wrong, and you get it back, and then for the actual exam you know what you're doing. Thumbs up.
That actually basically describes IB life right there. Extended essay. Writes over summer.
Extended essay,
Everything's wrong.
Like, all the internal assessments.
Oh yeah. Your talk, essay, your talk presentation.
If you get an essay, like, if you get your extended essay back from your teacher, or like anything that you do for coursework, and everything is wrong, don't feel bad. We've all been there. It's wrong. We've all been there.
Just if you, the first time, it's always going to be wrong the first time.
There's always going to be
You're not
something
going to write
wrong.
a perfect personal statement on the first try. I don't know how you would do that,
My
actually.
personal statement is currently 7,655 characters, and it's supposed to be 4,000.
Dude, I only have 2,000!
Oh, Louise, you've done nothing. I have already got too many things
we don't
to
need,
put on the statement.
We don't need the saltiness. Is that a cat on your shelf?
Yes, but it's not a real one.
Why does that Russian doll have a hat?
What Russian doll?
Oh, right there.
I have no idea. I'm gonna...
This is us being focused.
It's got a